In times past, I've done most of the work on in writing and answering people on the websites and the blogs and YouTube and things like this. And now it's really becoming to the point, because there's still such a limitation in writing versus speaking, and then of course there's a limitation in speaking versus thinking, and then of course the not thinking at all, which is where everything is really contained at, the silence. And so what's happening is that within these transitions, it's very difficult to convey to people exactly what's going on, what's taking place, as I drift further and further away from this primary reality and into the next. I wanted to basically leave these recordings for individuals in fear. It wasn't a fear that took place, it was more like an excitement. And the reason was because when we were younger, we were told, we would be flying by the year 2000. I have no doubt that the elite are flying, but they've left everyone else behind. And we were told many things, and when reality, as they call it, began to set in, I began to realize that that wasn't in the potential of mankind at this moment, and it was a letdown. So from that point, I entered into the business world, and I did very well for myself. I entered into just a worldly life with that subtle spirituality going on, more like a subject or period in school. And what ended up occurring most of the time was I was hearing a voice that would tell me to go right instead of left, and I always just paid attention to that voice. And it was only until I got myself into a deeper situation that I began to explore what that voice was. So leading all the way up to the point of where the main awakening happening. Many people, they feel like it's necessary for a person to explain, well, what is your background and what do you have as your credibility to be speaking on these subjects. And there's nothing that's more credible than the experience itself. Like I always tell people, speak from experience, not from what you've read in a book. Books are tainted at times, and there's many different works going on, and then sometimes people just want to hear one story. Okay, tell me what the truth is. And the fact of the matter is, because there's something that exists called thought forms, meaning that when one particular individual or a group of individuals believes in something so much, it doesn't even matter whether it exists or not. It becomes created. We breathe life into it. So people ask me questions like, do you think Jesus really existed? And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's, half of the world, or a great deal of the world, worships this being. So in effect, it would exist from that point. The new era that we're entering into, they say the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, or the age of man. This is when man figures out that he's the totality within, or he or she is in the totality within themselves. Tapping into other life forms and other waves of energy, and it's only because we're what they would call the fifth element. We're ether. We're the magical chemical that goes into the alchemical formula to make it, what it is. We make it the philosopher's stone. Even the word, the stone, doesn't think by itself. The stone just is. It's the philosopher that attempts to explain what is going on in the composition of the stone. So where we're at now is, this is the close of time. This is the Omega cycle. This is the Tin Man, as it's called in esoteric works from the Masons. And in the Omega cycle, it's what you see it is now. And now the most interesting part is, because of the illusion, people are not aware of what's really going on right in front of them. But here is it in a nutshell. When I'm playing a video game, or when I'm reading a book, or when I'm doing any of that, I can always tell when it's the end or it's the beginning. It's just like a natural sense that you have. And the illusion allows you to deny that it's the end, because you don't know what's going to happen next, so you don't want to face it. This is the level that we have to switch. We switch from becoming proactive about our lives than reactive. And that's the biggest key. It's like, instead of waiting on something to happen, waiting on someone to come back, waiting on the politician to do something, it's like you go out there and do it yourself. And then whatever you face, whether it's life, whether it's death, or whether it's a new meaning to life, or new meaning to death for that matter, it changes you to the level of higher than where you were before. And not higher in a sense of you're above people, but higher in a sense that you've grown. And so this is what we need to engage in. There really can be no excuses. even giving us, the advent of technology. There's a lot of propaganda and a lot of things going out that's against technology. There's a lot of propaganda coming out that's against the serpent. There's a lot of propaganda coming out that's against the aliens. There's propaganda coming out that's against everything. So here's the fact: it's happening. And when something is happening, instead of figuring out why it happened, or even sometimes how you can stop it, you have to figure out, what it's really all about. It doesn't mean to delve into it, doesn't mean to worship it. It just means that that's present in your reality. Dig into it to see what is the root of it. And so the root of things like technology, it gives man no reason in his mind that he could say, well, I didn't make it. Well, if you have a library, or if you have a computer, for those that are fortunate to at least have those two, or even as the Quran even says, it taught man to read and write. The Most High taught man to read and write. So from that point, there can be really no excuses. And when you accept that, and then you realize that it's only laziness that makes a person want to get a favor from something like a god, or get a message from someone like a guru, that's reactive. That's logging on to a site in the morning to see what's new there, rather than logging on so you can post something new. It's, instead of looking for who's going to lead you out, it's becoming the way out for people. And this takes a whole different type of level of thinking, because you've accepted a responsibility that's great. It's like a world that's on your shoulders. 4 years ago, when I came through what I can just call a portal, I was amazed. I just thought that I was going to immediately after that start finding people that were just like me, and they had already unlocked this ability. And when I got with them, they were going to take me into this other reality collective, because we all thought alike. I still haven't lost those ideas. I do believe that within us, we're all gravitating around people that, well, we're going to what's next. And that's the other thing. If in the world you see the world go from a cycle of the golden age all the way into the space age, no matter what age we're in now, that means that we're going to the next one, which I know is the age of ether. And so you have some people that are still moping about, trying to stay into their religious patterns. They're trying to stay into the Christianity, trying to stay into the Catholicism, trying to stay into the Hinduism, trying to stay into the Islam, trying to stay into the agnostic, the separatist, and you see what's going on here. There's so many of these different titles and these different paths of thinking that it's confusing. And it's dividing. It sets up the division. And until we start understanding on a totality that we're all in this together, if this world is destroyed, whatever life form is here is going to be destroyed with it. So that would get one to understand